So if you click on My Account and then you scroll down to Invoice Your Buyers right here, you click on Invoice Your Buyers. Let's say you have a couple of slide auctions and the seller is going to pay you by a bank transfer because you're in Europe. And that's a possibility. And you're not going to be collecting your payment through PayPal. So how would you handle that situation? Well, of course, what you would first have to send the invoice, and you could simply do that the normal way. You would send the invoice and hit Send Invoice. So now you've sent the invoice. It says Invoice Sent. If you go back to this page, the main page, and you hit the refresh button, notice that these two, when you hit the refresh button, turn black. So you wonder, well, what happens now? Well, remember, this is just the running archive. All the post-invoice management happens here on the post-invoice management screen. You must always go to the post-invoice management screen. So click the refresh button. As you can see, these two items are now listed here at the top of the screen, and they're indicated as not paid. So what happens if the buyer is going to say, I want to pay you by a bank transfer instead of with PayPal? That's no problem. All you need to do is you need to, once he has paid you, you see there, these two items now have the same checkout ID because they're on the same invoice. Notice the ID number is the same because they are on the same invoice. But if you click the not paid right here, here is the item and the invoice. There's one item and two items on the invoice. You can simply click this button and mark it as paid. And that means that the buyer will have paid you by cash or paid you by bank transfer. Now, you may also want to hide the items in the same fashion if you listed them by mistake. So you still have to send the invoice and just let the buyer know that it was an error. But once the invoice is sent, you can then click Mark as Paid. You get an error message, a message up at the top here saying this cannot be undone. Are you sure you want to mark it as paid? And you click OK, and you've now marked it as paid. If we go back to this page and hit refresh, you can see they now show as paid. And you can now, because they're paid, you can now actually elect to hide them. So if you want to hide them from the page, you just click these two like that. See, there's two check boxes, and you can now click Hide Checked Items, and they're now hidden. And notice that if we go back to My Account, click on Invoice Your Buyers, they are hidden from the page. They're not here because you have hidden them. So I hope that explains how you can hide an item and how you can mark an item as paid if it was paid for by cash or bank transfer outside of the system, or you listed an item in error and you want to hide it. I hope that makes sense.